Hello and welcome to this week's episode of a series of conversations. In this series, you may be aware that I speak to coaches and people who work with coaches so that we can all find out more about what we all do and what services are available to us. And today I'm talking to the lovely Donna Liddle. Hello, Donna.
Hi.
Now, Donna is quite unusual, really, compared to the coaches that I normally talk to, because Donna provides services to coaches.
Yeah.
So what do you do, Donna? Tell me what you do.
So I am the Coaches Confidant, and basically that is exactly what it says. It's a confidant. It's a safe space for coaches to come and talk about whatever issues, whether it be personal, professional or business issues, whether you're struggling with that tricky client or you're struggling with your own physical or emotional well-being and you need somewhere to go, that safe space that you can just offload so that you can still show up in your coaching practice as you want to.
Okay, so we've just been having a little chat beforehand about the fact that what I thought you were talking about was supervision, but that's not what you're talking about at all, is it? So explain to me the difference between what you do and coaching supervision.
Right, so it's a bit of a hybrid. There's elements of supervision, so wanting that kind of feedback of checking in that you're working ethically with the client, or if something's coming up. For a lot of the clients that I've worked with, it could be things like they've realized so far into working with a client that there's a few red flags and they're just not sure whether or not they should continue with them, how much they'd want to reimburse them, if that's kind of, to talk through issues like that. If they haven't laid those out, you tend to find there's the things that they maybe haven't laid out in the initial contractor. So it just helps them to learn for next time. But as well, it's things around sort of maybe personal therapy issues, coaching issues, accountability support. So I'm there for a lot of my clients. Sometimes there's a sounding board. They've got good ideas for a new service, but they're aware they start with an idea and then go through the process of talking themselves out of it because there's this to do and there's that to do. Maybe I can't do that. Mm-hmm. So it can be sounding board issues. It can be, as I said before, sort of personal well-being, physical well-being. A lot of the people that I work with have sort of their own physical health issues as well that tend to impact. It could be anxieties and things like that, their own mental well-being that's impacting on them showing up in their coaching business the way that they want to.
Can you give me an example of a kind of physical illness that stops somebody showing up if they want to?
So I have clients with sort of varying different sort of bowel conditions and things like that. So part of the work that I've done in the past, I've come from a mental health background. So I spent 20 years coordinating and managing counselling services for a mental health charity. And I also, for about 4.5 years, worked for a constipation clinic. So I was seeing patients who had chronic bowel conditions that really severely impacted their lives. So because I've had that kind of mix of emotional and physical well-being, that I tend to get clients who have those issues that repeatedly come up and, stop them showing up. They find that, and we usually find there's a connection between kind of what's going on in their lives or business that's impacting on their symptoms as well. So that the more kind of stress that they're enduring, the more their physical symptoms show up. So sometimes I work with all kinds of different coaches, so they could be doing more sort of practical services, design, brand and things like that, but their physical health issues are stopping them from meeting deadlines. So it's working on those kinds of things as well.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to you starting to work for the mental health charity. So How did you end up doing that and what were you doing?
So I had left college and was suffering from depression myself. And I joined a young people's group, which was for 18 to 35-year-olds who had, mental health problems. And from there, started volunteering to help out in the group, then did a little bit of casual work for them, and then was actually taken on. I'd gone for a job somewhere else actually, and then came back and they were like, oh, there's a job here if you like it. So it was totally not my direction that I was ever planning. I wanted to be a photographer. So it was just never that kind of direction that I wanted to head in career-wise. But I grew through that. So started where I was running the groups with the clients, the young people's group, ladies groups and things like that, Saturday drop-ins. And then from there did coaching training, did NLP, hypnotherapy, various levels of counselling training. And so then about 11 years ago, I started my own coaching and hypnotherapy business, and I was doing that as a side hustle really alongside working. And that's how I was doing the physical health stuff with the constipation clinic and my own stuff, which was predominantly around sort of anxiety, weight loss, anything that would be kind of stopping smoke and things like that covered within the hypnotherapy remit.
Yeah. Okay. So there you were, hypnotherapist, a little bit of coaching mixed in, a little bit of counselling mixed in. So a proper toolkit you've got going on.
Yeah.
So that whoever's in front of you, you've got something that will work. So where did you go from doing that? So here you are side hustling.
Yeah.
whilst working for the constipation clinic. And so what happened next?
So basically I was about 2018, I joined a coaching program that was about kind of growing an online coaching business. And that showed me the difference of that single session therapy world that I'd been in. And because I was coordinating counselling services within that, and we used to charge like £3 for a counselling session because it was, you know, open to everybody. So going from that single session business to creating packages and working with clients over months. And I think I've kind of come full circle. So I wanted to get away from the whole mental health thing. I only left my job in 2019, December 2019. And
then the pandemic arrived.
Yeah. Luckily enough, it kind of really started with a boost. So I'd already started working with clients in Australia and Spain and in the UK. And that sort of showed me that there was, you know, more out there. And it was very much the program. So rather than having a fixed program, it was very much about just helping them with the issues that they had, which is why it's kind of now become the Coaches Confidant, because it was they were growing their business and they just wanted that support. They wanted the place to offload. They wanted somebody to talk to about whatever issues were coming up for them, rather than, you know, they would have a coach who was helping them with Facebook ads or with, you know, setting up a Facebook group. They just really wanted somebody to support them and be there. A lot of my clients will describe me as like, it's so good to have you in my back pocket that I know I can just ring when I need somebody to talk to. So from there, it's been a journey sort of back full circle, really, to the stuff that I was doing when I was supporting the counsellors as the role within Mind, is that I was there when they came in on a morning. So if something had happened at home with the kids or the husband or partner, they could come in and just go, I just need to dump this, and then I can go into the session. And when they came out of sessions, if they'd had a heavy session or they just wanted to query something, so it was me who kind of would do all of the policies, procedures, codes of conduct for the service as well. So they would come just to clarify that they were doing things the right way in terms of how the organisation would do it. So I think that's kind of what's come into the work that I do with my clients, is they just want to clarify they're doing things right by themselves, their business and their clients, and, you know, that they're doing everything the way that feels really aligned to them. So that's very much something that's been strong for me, is rather than that following somebody else's model of doing something, it's about really understanding yourself to know what fits with you.
And so how do you work with people on things like coaching agreements and kind of having an ethical stance to their businesses?
So I would always tell them to seek proper advice. So not to just, you know, there's a lot of these just download a template and, you know, is actually go to credible sources for those kinds of information. So I don't help them to write agreements or anything like that, but I would talk through what they've agreed with their clients. So then they're not in the initial stages saying, oh, this is how it's going to work, and then, you know, so far into it going, oh no, that's not what we agreed to. Because it does come up where, you know, things have changed and they realize that the boundaries are blurred and things like that. So for me, one of the big differences that I found within the online space was, in a counseling industry, it was very boundaried. You know, you didn't become friends with your clients, you didn't have contact outside of sessions with them. It was very structured, very set to that time. So a lot of it can be talking through those boundaries with people as to, you know, has it become this friendship rather than, you know, the respect of that coach and client relationship. Which I think happens a lot in the industry. And then I think this is where some of the problems become, and I've had many conversations with people where they've talked about somebody they've felt they've developed a friendship with, but that person is a business owner and is then, you know, coached them and trying to sell them services, and they're going, but I thought they were my friend. And it's like, but that's not, you know. So it's about being aware of that in their own practices as well. Is, are they developing that relationship beyond the coach and client relationship? And as I say, kind of looking at what they've agreed with, and that they feel like they're doing right by themselves and their clients. Because I think that, you know, I've seen people who have continued to work with a client. They know they have more issues than they can deal with, and it's almost like, oh, we'll just ignore that and we'll continue to work. And it's like, you can't just ignore what's going on. For me, I'm very, very honest and open with my clients that if something comes up, and, you know, it's something obviously you'll be talking about with yours as well, is that, you know, something comes up, I'm going to refer you on. And even if that's I referred a client on because, yes, we've been dealing with more mindset stuff, but actually the thing that she needed to help her business grow was some marketing advice, and it's not something I could give. So it's like, you don't need to keep investing in me, you need to invest in somebody for marketing. So I think people feel like when they've taken on a client, sometimes it can be that connection to the income, and sometimes it's feeling like I failed if I pass them on. But actually you're serving yourself and your clients really well to say, you know, hands up, this is beyond what I'm capable of, or it's just something I don't deal with. So rather than just keep working through it, I'm going to do the better thing for both of us, and I'm going to refer them on.
Yeah, one of the things that we do at the Coaching Revolution is that our coaches, because of the way that we teach people to market their coaching businesses, what it means is we're not in competition with one another.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a lot of coaches who joined us feeling like every other coach was competition, and then kind of realized that, no, they're not competition. What they are is a resource.
Yeah.
A resource for collaborations, a resource for advice, and particularly a resource where you can hand a client on that doesn't fit. And I think where you become confident that you can hand somebody on is when you're not short of clients.
Yeah.
If you've only got 2, you don't want to hand somebody on, do you? But when you've got as many clients as you want, then you can kind of go, okay, this client, I could work with them, but actually they'd be way better suited to that coach. And honestly, I don't like working on that particular subject, and you can pass them on. And so that kind of the idea of developing your own referral network is really important. One of our coaches works with adult third culture kids.
Right.
Now, coaching for third culture kids are adults who grew up in lots of different places that were different to their home culture. So, for example, the woman who is the third culture kid coach, she was born in Scotland and lived in England, Kenya, Australia, back to England, back to Australia. So, you know, grew up all over the place. And they have issues, these adult third culture kids. And so counselling or therapy for third culture kids has been a thing for a long time. But it's become increasingly apparent that actually they're not broken. They're not broken. They don't need to look back and dig in the rubble of their past. What they need is a plan to look forward. However, she does have a referral network of TCK therapists, so that when she does come across somebody who goes, oh yeah, I want some coaching, but actually I've got a real problem here, and this isn't a coaching problem, this is a therapy problem, that she has somewhere to pass them to. And I think developing those professional connections, professional referral network, is incredibly important to your own sanity and also to your credibility as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's sad that there's so many that we see who struggle on, and then, you know, you hear those negative reviews. It's all about your reputation at the end of the day. And, you know, you want to build a solid reputation for yourself and your business. So you don't want people going away at the end and going, well, I didn't get what I needed from that. You know, and I think this is one of the reasons as well for developing the Coaches Confidant, is that people have that space. So people who haven't come from that background, you know, and it sounds from the training that you do, you give such a thorough like approach to the whole coaching industry, that it's not just that, you know, quick weekend course and, oh, I'm a coach, I was, you know, one thing one day, but I'm a coach today. And sadly in the online space, it has become a thing that more and more people are just kind of setting up as a coach. And I've been in a lot of sort of therapy to coach groups, and people leave the therapy industry because of all of the red tape, because of all of that structure, and go, oh, well, I could just set up as a coach and I don't need any of that. And it's
an unregulated industry.
You know, it's that having that space that people who aren't used to that regulated industry, who aren't used to having, you know, peer support groups or supervision groups, or just sometimes the clients that I work with are totally alone in their business. So their family and friends don't understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And they don't have those kind of business relationships that are set up. For me, it was one of the most important things I did when I moved my business online and kind of left my job, was to create a support network. So I have people that I can go to who are my confidant when I need somebody to talk to. I have connections with those supervisors that I had from in my working life, so that when I know that something's coming up, I have somewhere to go. But I think it is that thing of everybody thinks they've got to have it all sorted, and the amount of people that you see, you know, kind of are those swans where they're all, you know, puffed up and pretty on the top, but they're paddling away like mad underneath, and you don't see that. They need that space to be able to go, I just need to dump all of this stuff. I've been carrying it around with us. It's stopping us showing up in my business in the way that I want to. It's stopping us, you know, giving my all to my clients. So I just need somewhere to explore that and offload it.
I think it's really interesting, the unregulated nature of the coaching industry. So there are, top of my head, 3 professional bodies that I would expect people who work with us to have trained with. There are, you know, obviously Cambridge University, Henley Business School. There are places that aren't these 3 industries, but there's the International Coach Federation, which is the ICF, which is the biggest one, and they're US based. There's the Association for Coaching, which is the UK based one, and then there's the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. Now, each of those has courses in coach supervision, and coach supervision is very different than therapy supervision. I can say this with some absolute clarity, because my mum was a therapy supervisor for years. So, you know, we've had lots of conversations around what the difference is, and the need for supervision, if you are a professional coach with a professional coaching qualification, it's essential. It's essential because it's like everything else, isn't it? It's the burnout thing. And so one of the things that, especially like you say with the launch of coaching in the online space, people who are teaching somebody something will say, I'm a coach. It's like, no, you're not a coach. You're not. I mean, you can call yourself what you like, can't you? But you know, if you're teaching somebody something, you're a teacher or a mentor. But that doesn't mean that they don't still need the support.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're
exactly.
teaching, mentoring, training, coaching, whatever they're doing, they still need this confidant, like you say, this place to go to let go of the stuff that's getting in their way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, for me, as I said, it's something I set up for myself to have those people to go to, you know, when your business isn't going as well as you want it to, when you're struggling with, you know, comparing yourself to every social media post, going, I don't write like that, I don't sound like that, I don't look like that. You know, all of those things that come up when we talk ourselves out of great ideas. I think the Coaches Confidant grew over a number of months, having these conversations with people where everybody that I've spoken to is going, yeah, it's great. And it's been my hesitations of like having to have everything perfect and, you know, making sure that I'm doing what I say to clients to do. I'm very much about, you know, that whole thing we put out, that pressure on ourselves of, I want to say, yeah, I do these things as well. It's not I'm telling you to do something, but I'm doing something different. You know, I get the support when I need it. And it's something that I think a lot of people have seen as, oh, well, it's weak because I'm supposed to have everything sorted. You know, but I think that strength lies in actually recognizing there's a problem and dealing with it in the moment, rather than, as we do, bury our head in the sand or try to ignore it and pretend like something's not happening. So I think for a lot of people, it you know, the clients that I work with are in these sort of Facebook groups promoting their services, and, you know, they can't show up in those same groups where potential clients are and say, do you know what, hold my hands up, I'm having this problem. So they need somewhere that's confidential. And I think, you know, probably not something you do in your programs, but a lot of the things that I've seen in other programs is, you know, your social proof is all about that kind of sharing client testimonials and client stories, and people, you know, don't want that necessarily, which is why the Coaches Confidant was that real confidential. It's a very discreet service. People, I'm not going to say like, you know, oh, here's my client today and this is what we've been talking about. It's like, come talk about whatever you want to talk about, and know that it's fully confidential, and whatever you choose to share about that is up to you, but that's not on me to, you know, to do that.
I kind of pulled a funny face when you said something there, where you said people think that they're supposed to know everything. Nobody knows everything. No. Nobody knows everything. You know, part of running a business that provides a coaching service or a service to coaches is about understanding that you can't possibly know everything.
Yeah.
Of course you can't. And I think that a bit of humility goes a very long way, because it's okay not to know everything, you know, as long as you know where to go to find out.
Yeah.
You know, you that it's just that it made me go, oh, okay.
I think in the sense of people thinking they have to have it all sorted. So as a coach, and even counselors were the same, you know, it's like, I can help my clients with this, why can't I help myself with this issue? You know, and we do take it upon ourselves. I mean, I know myself, I've got all of the tools that I would know how to help somebody else, but we can't see a problem from the same perspective when we're in it.
No.
You know, and we need that somebody else to be that sounding board, to reflect those things back to us, to kind of make sense and understand it.
Yeah.
So it was that element of feeling like they need to be sorted, or they have the answers of how to
sort
for themselves. And I think people start to feel like they wouldn't be seen as being credible. So like, well, how can you say you solve that problem for somebody when you've got that problem and you can't sort it out?
Yeah.
So
I had an interesting conversation with one of our mentors recently when we were talking about the fact that, you know, we can talk to our clients and we can clearly see when they have a belief that's holding them back or what have you. When we have those same beliefs that are holding us back, that's real. That's not a limiting belief. That's our stuff's real. Everybody else's stuff is just, you know, smoke and mirrors. But hey, when we're experiencing it, it's different. And that's the issue, isn't it? Is that when you're inside it feels real. When you're on the outside, you can look and go, well, actually, it's not real.
Exactly.
But yeah, it can be very hard to spot that yourself.
Yeah.
So what's going forward? Where is the Coaches Confidant going?
So at the minute, as I said, it's really a relatively new service. So at the minute, it's kind of persuading and helping people to understand the benefit of something like that, of having that space to offload, especially those who haven't gone through training processes like your own, where they're made aware of things like supervision, having personal therapy. When I used to work with counsellors, they had to have so many hours of personal therapy in order to work with clients. And so having that support and understanding the value of it. So at the minute, it's kind of slowly growing. I'm talking to more and more people about it. And the very different to some of those traditional programs is people don't have to sign up for any length of time. So it's single sessions as and when they need them. They, if somebody just needed, and for some people it is just a one-off, they've got an issue, they need to deal with it so they can show up in the way they want to. And I do that as retainer as well. So I've got a number of clients who we design this level of support they need. And because I didn't want it to be where it was tied into, a set length of time, I do have a 3-month program, which is more of like an add-on. So somebody who's gone through another program, I've spoken with sort of marketing coaches and sales coaches, where what they found is they have like 6-month programs, and they're dealing with their clients, helping them, almost giving them all of the information they need, but they're going, for some reason, they're just not putting it into practice, and I don't know why. So that program is more of an add-on in terms of helping them to learn how to understand themselves, know what feels aligned to them, how they can utilize and adapt that information. Because I think there's that perception of, well, you've got to do it this specific way, rather than, well, you can take all of that information and then you can decide, take a little bit of this and maybe a little bit of that, and I can bring it together, and that feels really aligned. And part of that as well is about really understanding and accepting themselves first. So we have to kind of uncover some of those beliefs they hold about themselves and the way they're supposed to show up. We always have that, well, I should be like this and I should be like that. So kind of bust the myths on some of those things and just help them to step into totally owning who they are. It's the biggest reason the Coaches Confidant was designed, because it's the element of coaching and supporting people that I love. I want to help people to get to the level of success they want to achieve. And for me, the way that I do that is just being there for them in whatever capacity they need. And I struggled so long for like, I've got to have this, 6-month program, 3-month program. And it was like, do you know what? That doesn't sit well with me. Actually, somebody reaching out and going, can I talk? Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Well, that feels like a very good place to say, Donna Liddle, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's lovely to talk to you.
You too.